Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner Football Fans podcast. First off, whatever app you're listening to the podcast on right now, hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a single episode of your favorite podcast. On today's podcast, we have Dan from Inside The Burrow podcast. Inside The Burrow is a fan podcast done by Florida Atlantic fans. Dan gives us a little bit of insight on what the fans' expectations are for the Owls coming in here to Norman and facing our mighty Sooners. Sooner Football Fans is not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma, but we do have eligibility left. Boomer.
Saturdays in Norman are back in full swing, and if you're looking for a way to partake in the fun, look no further. Whether you're a visiting fan of an opposing team or an OU parent, alumni, or just a college football enthusiast in search of a tailgate, then Tailgate Connect is for you. By connecting with a host here in Norman, Tailgate Connect gives you access to a tailgate community ready to crack open a beer with you, share food off of their own grill, and introduce you to 50 of their closest friends. It's affordable, it's hassle-free, and it's all-inclusive. Don't miss our opportunity to celebrate college football the right way. All you have to do, Terry, is go to www.tailgateconnect.com to learn more and sign up for the OU Tailgate. Now be sure to put OU Sooner Fan Podcast in the referral box.
That's important because that's how we get paid, and me and Rob need chicken and beer money for Thursday nights.
I'm poor. I mean, just to put it plain and simple.
Hey, Sooner football fans. You got Terry and Rob here. Boomer, Rob.
Boomer, Terry.
It's game week, Rob.
Game week.
Are you beside yourself with excitement and joy?
I am a little bit.
No more just talking about it. We're getting down to it.
Yeah. We're actually going to have something to talk about.
Right. We don't have to create stuff to talk about. We can actually talk about what people are talking about.
Which is fun, but.
Yeah. So, but this week, game week, we got the Florida Atlantic Owls flying in, marching in, screaming in to Norman.
Yep.
What ESPN is calling one of the best games of opening day.
You think so? Really?
It's Michigan, Notre Dame, Bama, Louisville, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Oklahoma FAU. There's a lot of talk behind this game.
Well, I mean, I hope it's not really, because I mean, I looked at their schedule from last year. I didn't see. I mean, really, the only good team they played was Wisconsin, and they got beat up pretty good. I really hope it's not a good game for them anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, they went 11-3 last year. They lost to Wisconsin 31-14. They lost to Navy 42-19, and to Buffalo out of the MAC. I think that may be a little bit of a twist that maybe they weren't expecting or something to that. But they won 10 straight games.
I mean, that's impressive enough as it is, but who'd they win them against?
Well, let's see, Rob.
Since I know, I mean.
Let's go with Bethune-Cookman, a non-major, 45-0. And then their conference, they beat Buffalo, Middle Tennessee, Old Dominion, North Texas, Western Kentucky, Marshall, Louisiana Tech, Florida International, Charlotte. I didn't even know there was a Charlotte University. North Texas, and then they
blasted,
throttled Akron,
Akron,
in the Boca Raton Bowl, which I guess
and that's
is
in their home.
Yeah, I guess that's a home game for them. I don't know.
So, I mean, did you see any teams in there that would give us even a scare?
No.
I mean, I don't even really see a team in there that could have hung with maybe like Tulane.
Yeah.
So, and some of them they beat, soundly, but I mean, they only beat Marshall 30-25. So it's not like they were just juggernauting people.
Right. They do have Devin Singletary, who Lincoln today was extremely impressed with.
Yeah, but look what he's running against. I mean,
yeah, but Rob, you're running against.
I mean, he's still got to do it. I give him a prop. He obviously is a good back, but can he do that against Caleb Kelly and
That's what we're fixing to find out.
That's what we're going to find out.
He very impressed with him. I've seen just a few clips of him. I know that he was, the Conference USA MVP, led basically Conference USA in every rushing category a running back could.
Yeah, so that's impressive.
And led the NCAA in touchdowns and points, the entire NCAA in touchdown and points. So he's not a slouch.
He's no slouch.
He hasn't stepped into, like you said,
He's not stepped into Oklahoma Memorial Stadium.
Right. And, with Caleb Kelly, Kenneth Murray, Gallimore, those guys, jamming up the middle. So Kiffin still hasn't named a quarterback. So
he's got the kid from East Mississippi and Lance Chance U.
Yeah. DeAndre Johnson.
And the kid that transferred from Oklahoma,
Chris
right?
Robeson. Correct.
So, which I think both are serviceable quarterbacks, really.
They were both 4-star. So.
Well, the kid from East Mississippi, I've seen a lot of highlights on him, not just at East Mississippi. He was pretty good.
Yeah. Both of these guys, and that's one thing Lincoln said today in the press conference. Lane they've recruited well. They've snagged up some players. I'm not going to get into any kid's personal life. These two had some problems at OU and at Florida State's. It is what it is. But he picked them up. A smaller mid-major school picked up these 4-star athletes, giving them a chance to redeem themselves.
It looks like they are.
Yeah. So
they also got another kid from East Mississippi, that Tim Bonner kid. He's like 6'5", 220 or something. He's a defensive end maybe.
Yeah. So, we've said it before. They scheduled this game. Lane Kiffin wasn't there.
Right.
There was no thought of this being. This was a two-lane.
This was a tune-up.
Yeah.
This was a tune-up game that's turned into more.
Right. That was, hey, we'll get in here, get that first game jitters out, get in here and get a good workout against somebody else. That's turned into being a pretty salty team going to come in here.
I was looking at their roster up and down. They got some nice-sized receivers. They got a pretty good size O-line. D-line's not bad. Linebackers, they there's not, they're going to match up pretty well with us, I think. We're still going to be a little bit bigger than them, but I wouldn't say a ton bigger.
Right. No. But, and again, another thing Lincoln said about them was he thinks they're a top 20 to 25 team, at least.
Wow.
So, across the board, with the athletes they have.
And the coaching staff.
And the coaching staff. Although, their offensive coordinator is 25 years old. Charlie Weis Jr.
Well, it's got some pretty good roots, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he got some good roots, but
some pretty good roots.
And he's held some pretty solid jobs for a kid that young. He's been a offensive guy with what's it called? Not a coordinator, but a consultant with Atlanta Falcons and a few other places. So. Lane saw something in him, I guess. Kiffin did to go. Hey,
he's probably a pretty good selector of talent. Yeah. I would assume so, since he's been, he's been in Alabama, and if you see what talent looks like. So
right. So early line, Oklahoma is favored right now by 21 points. Think that's high?
21. Those lines are a lot like the preseason polls. It's hard to say. Realistically, that shouldn't be tough for us.
Yeah.
But this game.
So they're basically calling it a 42-21 game or a 21-0 game. And I'm leaning more towards the 42-21.
Yeah. Well, they could come out and surprise us.
Yeah.
We gotta shut that running back down for starters.
We got to shut him down. They're going to have a quarterback with skills. It's just that simple. So,
well, how much of the second half Georgia offense are they going to be running immediately?
If they don't have the second half Georgia offense playbook,
right? This is what they ran right here. Let's run
and maybe even run it in that order.
Maybe, yeah, absolutely.
And see if Oklahoma can stop it. Why not? It's it's a young defense, so they're gonna be tested. I mean, I think they're going to be tested the first 4 games.
Well, they're probably going to try and pick on Kenneth Murray,
right?
Just because he's been hard on himself. The fans have been hard on him, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens there. But with our linebacker core, I'm not sure Caleb Kelly's going to start. I know that's a bold statement.
Well, they're saying it's still a battle.
There's some guys in there really banging it out.
Yeah.
So, man, let's just say for a second that Caleb Kelly does not start, and he is a super, super talented linebacker who has worked really hard. You know what that just means is somebody that's even more super talented is going to beat him out for that spot. So. Right.
But we're also, I think we're doing something pretty cool. We're fixing to have fixing to contact some guys from Boca Raton, Florida. They have a podcast out there called
Inside the Burrow.
So we're going to reach out to them right now, and we're going to talk a little bit of Sooner football with them and what they
Florida
expect.
Alf ball, right?
And we'll see what they expect out of this weekend. All right, Sooner fans, as promised on today's podcast, I think this is a first. I've never heard of it done.
I've never heard of it either.
Podcasts.
We're pioneers.
Yeah, we're pioneers. First at first. Podcasters podcasting together, 2 separate teams. But from sunny Boca Raton, I started to say Baton Rouge, Boca Raton, Florida, we have Dan from Inside The Burrow podcast. He covers FAU football. How's it going, Dan?
Going pretty great. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. It's finally football season. We've gone
game week is here.
We've gone forever. It seems like having to make, create stuff to talk about, and now we finally get to talk about, football and an actual game that's going to happen in the next few days.
Yeah.
So
can't wait. Can't wait.
Are you coming down for the game?
Unfortunately not. No, my job kind of prevented that, but I definitely would have liked to make it, but no, I'm not going.
Well, what is the fan expectation down there with the Owls coming into Normantown? What is everybody looking forward to, down there?
Yeah, I think it's I think it depends on which fans you talk to. I think there's kind of some, I guess, some of the newer FAU fans that, last year would kind of, when Lane Kiffin came in, it kind of exceeded all expectations, won conference championship, the bowl game, and they're thinking we're gonna win, we're gonna go in there, we're gonna win. And I think a lot of the older FAU fans like myself, we remember going into having some expectations. Specifically back in 2007, when we were still a member of the Sun Belt team, or Sun Belt Conference, we were playing Texas, kind of on not a great year for Texas in 2008. Just after we won the conference championship in the New Orleans Bowl, we said we're going to go to Texas, we're going to win, and we lost 52-10. So I think there's some older FAU fans like myself that are saying, all right, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Remember that this is Oklahoma. Shane, one of the guys on my podcast, did some research and said that Oklahoma has only lost 4 non-conference home games since 2000. So yes, we're FAU. We've got Lane Kiffin. We've got a potential Heisman candidate at running back. But the spread is 21 for a reason. Let's start by beating the spread, and then we'll go from there. So I think that's where I'm at. And again, there's some some of the newer fans are like, yeah, Oklahoma, they lost Baker Mayfield, and so on and so forth. But that's and I'm fine with that because there's a lot more of those fans around now, which is it's a lot nicer to have a whole lot more fans around with that kind of confidence than coming off 3 years of 3-9. So.
Right. Well, one of the things that we've talked about all summer long, I mean, Oklahoma's non-conference schedule is a pretty solid schedule.
Pretty solid. Yeah.
We've got you guys coming in, UCLA and Army.
With the emergence of Florida Atlantic.
Right.
I mean, I think when they scheduled, no offense to Florida Atlantic, but I think when we scheduled you guys, it was kind of a tune-up game, and now it's become a real game. Or that's how we feel about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, because that's what, just like Rob said, I guarantee you Lane Kiffin wasn't there when they scheduled this game.
No.
If he was, they wouldn't have done it. I mean, I'm just telling you, that's how it is. But, it's turned into what, ESPN has called it one of the best games on opening day. Michigan, Notre Dame, Bama, Louisville, Tennessee, West Virginia. Those are some of the marquee games, and they're, I don't think it's as marquee as that or of those. Those are, all pretty big names, but I think it's intriguing for all fans.
And I think it's, it's by far the best game in the time slot. It's college football kickoff. Like, everybody is going to be tuning in to, more so I would say Oklahoma versus Lane Kiffin than Florida Atlantic. But it's definitely got some intrigue to it, which is nice to have.
Right.
Absolutely. Lane Kiffin has nothing to lose. I mean, if I were him, I would put everything out there, everything on the line to try and win this ball game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Honestly, I mean, Oklahoma has historically, one of the things that we're glad about, that Rob and I are really glad about, and a lot of Sooner fans, is one, it's not on a neutral field, because Oklahoma notoriously plays bad opening day neutral field, aka Houston,
BYU,
and BYU. Any kickoff classic we need to stay away from. Yep. 2, we're not striping the stadium. Oklahoma is 3-3 when they striped the stadium, and they lost to Iowa State last year when they striped the stadium. And we're not wearing our alternate jerseys because they don't quite play as well in our alternate jerseys. So that's one thing. As Sooner fans are like Rob and I, we're just like, okay, we got that going for us. But talk about not just Lane. I mean, he kind of stepped out with your offensive coordinator, Charlie Weis Jr. No offense taken. I was doing a little bit of research over the weekend and stuff. They need to change his picture on their website. He looks like he's 15 years old. Maybe that's how he looks like, but but
he does.
So, tell us a little bit how that happened. What brought that all about?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot written about Charlie Weis joining. I think Charlie Weis interned, or he was a graduate assistant or something like that at Alabama when Lane was there.
Right. And
then he had a job with the Falcons. He interned with Alabama. He told it he was a graduate or a student at Florida when his dad was the offensive coordinator at the University of Florida. So Lane routinely says that he has the experience of somebody that's, he's 25 years old. He's got the experience of somebody that's 35 years old. And for Lane, he thinks it as age doesn't matter. It's all about the experience, because he's been, he was on the sideline at Notre Dame when he was 15 years old when his dad was there.
Right.
So, I think it's to me, it's a totally Lane Kiffin thing to do, to hire somebody that's 25 years old. That's not normal. He tends to do things that are not normal, which I appreciate, certainly. And I mean, certainly, if you were to take out Charlie Weis Jr.'s, if you take off his name and age from his resume, and you would look at his resume, you'd say, "Wow, he's coached under or been coached by some of the best coaches in the business." So I'm not too worried. Yeah, he may have some immaturity things, but I also think that it's a unique situation that you had somebody that's like a whiz kid like Lane Kiffin was, growing up in coaching and being the NFL head coach at age 31. It's kind of like it's a bond that they can share, and I think Lane can kind of help Charlie along the way with that. So it'll be interesting. I'm not quite sure who's going to be calling plays. Yeah,
that was my next question. I saw that there was still nobody's answered that question, I guess, that who's the head play caller.
I think, my gut tells me it's going to be Lane, just because Lane, yes, he wants to. One of the things he really appreciated, about having Kendall Briles last year, who was very experienced as an offensive coordinator previously, is that he didn't have to handle play calling duties. He could hand that off. I think he liked just kind of being the CEO of the team and not being as in depth in play calling and stuff like that. I think he likes that, but I think at the end of the day, he's going to say, well, he is 25 years old. We're not going to go into Norman, Oklahoma with Charlie Weis Jr. calling plays for the first time. I think Lane, maybe later on in the year, maybe there's going to be some series that Charlie Weis calls. I think that would certainly happen. But I think for the most part, especially if we happen to get down early or something like that, Lane's not going to say, "Yeah, Charlie, just you got it, man." I think he's gonna take a more active role.
Yeah, it was interesting. That's what I thought when I was like, man, 25, and then I was reading that, again, there hasn't been a decision made. I guess Charlie has been saying, that's something you'll have to talk to Lane about. And Lane's just not, Lane's doing the same thing he's doing with his quarterbacks. He's not telling anybody yet. Who do you who's got the inside track as your starter quarterback?
Is it going to be that East Mississippi kid or the kid that transferred from here?
Yeah. So for, I guess, if those Oklahoma fans that don't know, FAU has a Oklahoma transfer, Chris Robertson, who transferred out last spring 2016, spring 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, he transferred out, and he ended up here solely because of Lane Kiffin. And then DeAndre Johnson from, most notably, he was a quarterback at Florida State who got kicked off there, and then, famously on the first season of Last Chance U on Netflix, that really popular Netflix show. And then there was a quarterback thrown in the last couple weeks from SMU that transferred here as a graduate transfer, and he's stepped into the mix as well. I think I don't know. I mean, it's last year to kind of give you an idea of certainly Lane's when he wants to make a decision for a quarterback. Last year, kind of a similar thing. Not with DeAndre Johnson was on the team, but he had some blood clots, so he wasn't fully healthy. He's fully healthy this year. But heading into the game, Jason Driscoll, who ended up being the starter quarterback for the rest of the year, was announced with the starters. And then as the team breaks the huddle, they run out on the field. It's Daniel Parr, different quarterback. Oh. So nobody really knew. I mean, even the stadium announcer didn't even know who was starting at quarterback as the game was starting. So at this point, they're both very talented quarterbacks. Obviously, were Power 5 recruits that ended up at FAU. I think I think that no matter what, we're going to see both quarterbacks. I think there's going to be a couple series of plays called really for each of them. Perhaps DeAndre Johnson, I think, is a little bit better runner. There may be some series called for him as well. So really, at this point, I can't give you an inclination. On who it's going to be. I would expect to see both quarterbacks, though. My gut, what I'm thinking right now is going to be Roberson. Is going to be the Oklahoma transfer is going to be making the start at Oklahoma.
Well, I tell you that if that's the case, they better give him a set of earplugs when he starts the game, because there will be a roar of boos. And I guess, I don't, we're on Twitter and we support our team on Twitter. I don't pay a whole lot of stuff about other things that go on, but I guess, he got into a little match with somebody on Twitter, said a couple of things. And so the Twitter Sooner family has been hoping and praying that it's him, for a chance at him. So, but I think it's interesting, Lincoln, announced the starting quarterback as Kyler Murray. I did like what Lane Kiffin said about Kyler, was he thought he should go play baseball.
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to slide him at all. I think he was trying to say, I'd rather not play against Kyler.
Yeah.
Which,
There's not a lot of people that do. And, here in Oklahoma, we're replacing what, arguably one of the, if not the greatest quarterback in Oklahoma history. And some people even go as far as, NCAA history, just a dynamic player. But, it was a close battle here, but giving the team, and I'm sure he probably has insight, Lane has insight with his team of what they're doing and how he's working it, but it just answered the question, got it off the board, and got it focused on the remainder of the season by announcing a starter. So,
right.
And honestly, he had no other choice. I mean, Kyler Murray's a 4.3 flat kid coming out of the backfield with a major league arm.
Yeah.
I mean, he really does. So, I mean, you're not going to leave a kid that's that explosive and not start him, I think.
But here's one of the things that Rob and I were talking about before we got you on, just in our little pre-deal, is Singletary. 1918 yards,
almost a 2,000-yard
almost
rusher.
a 2,000-yard rusher. Yeah. Now, a lot of fans and other people say, yeah, but it's the conference, and me personally, and I think from what Lincoln Riley said today in his press conference, it don't matter if you're running 1,900 yards a season,
you're a big time back.
It doesn't matter what conference you're in.
Right.
Tell us about a little bit about him and his growth there at FAU.
Yeah, he's a bit of, I think he's kind of that like the perfect kind of package where he's deceivingly quick. Like, he will run away from defensive backs if he gets out in the open field. He's kind of small and stocky, and he's short enough that he's easy to miss tackles. Mm-hmm. So he can break a lot of tackles because you're not gonna you can't grab a hold of him because he ducks, and then he's only 3 feet tall and you can't tackle him. And then he's strong enough that he'll easily run through arm tackles. So he's kind of that kind of unique package of somebody who is small enough, powerful enough, and fast enough. Then that's why he had 1,900 yards, 32 touchdowns, led the nation in touchdowns last year.
Right.
He's fun to watch. I mean, there's many times if you just go watch a highlight video of him on YouTube, and there's many times where he makes one guy miss and he's gone. Makes one guy miss in the backfield and he's gone. There's our quarterback last year, Jason Driscoll, not throw the ball down the field most times at all. So there was many times where it was 3rd and 11, 3rd and 8, and we'd want to draw up the middle with Singletary, and he'd get 15 yards after it. So he's exciting to watch. I mean, he's a very dark horse for the Heisman, but FAU started a Heisman campaign for him, and that makes sense. I mean, he led the nation in touchdowns, but like I said, he's quick enough to run away from a lot of defenders, and it's deceiving, and you'll think you'll have him wrapped up. He makes a jab step, and he's gone. So I think he's going to have a big day, obviously, for FAU to keep it close. But I think you'll as far as competition goes, you'll enjoy watching him because he's pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, and like I say, anybody who puts up that many yards wherever they're at, when you're going somewhere, it's going to be the focus of that defense to stop that. And I think with a new quarterback, Oklahoma is going to try to force the game into that new quarterback's hands. So
yeah.
I think that would definitely be the focus, is trying to stop that running back and make that quarterback, beat you. So,
yeah, I think the game really will come down to, can the defense be stingy enough? Can FAU's defense be stingy enough? We're not going to stop Oklahoma. It's still the offensive principles are still the same. It's yes, you have to replace a Heisman quarterback and #1 draft pick, but there's still very high-rated players all over the field on offense for Oklahoma.
Right.
So can we be stingy enough to get OU nervous, that there's, a blocked field goal that happens throughout the game that FAU turns into points. And then really whoever's quarterback, whether it's Robeson or DeAndre Johnson, can they do enough, or can they have a game where the defense cannot just load up the box and put everything on motor, which I think, like I said, Driscoll was throwing downfield was not. I mean, throwing 10 yards was not his forte. There were so many throws last year where we had wide open receivers and he would overthrow them by literally 10 yards. I mean, not even close. So I think having a more competent quarterback that can throw the ball downfield a little bit, which I know Robertson and DeAndre Johnson both have pretty strong arms. Are they going to be able to open up the game passing wise? And that certainly will have a big impact. If OU can load the box and we can't do anything downfield, then it's going to be a tough game, even with having a quality running back like Motor Singletary.
Okay, well, I mean, all great points. It's a game that, again, we Sooner fans, not just because it's, the first game of the season and we're all, hungry for football to start. It's been an intriguing matchup. It's been talked about, especially here the last several weeks on different podcasts, on radio shows, that this is an intriguing matchup. It ought to be interesting. Overall, like you said, Oklahoma's a 21-point favorite. What are you expecting to see? Is it, what type of game are you expecting to see? What are you expecting the Owls to come in here and do and walk out of here with?
It's a tough question for me because I've been, I followed the program since back in 2005, and I've been with the highest of highs like last year, and then I've seen the absolute lowest of lows. And I think under Lane has just brought something to the program that the previous coaches, or administrations have not been able to do, and it just, obviously brought legitimacy. But I think there's something with the way the players are that's different. So I don't expect to win, but I expect it to be a good game. I don't, a good game meaning I expect us to cover. Maybe we're 42, 28.
Yeah.
That type game, or 42-31, around there. I think that's really, really possible. I think we didn't lose really anything on defense. So defense is still going to be really good. I think we're bringing back 10 or 11 starters, and most of them are junior, senior level, and there's a lot of depth on defense. Offense. Yeah, we lost our top two wide receivers, but we really didn't maximize our wide receivers. So I think if we have a little bit better wide receiver production, we can keep things positive. Tight ends, I think our two tight ends, Rain and our all-conference tight end. I can't slipping my name now. The name is
happens to us all the time.
Yeah, can't remember, but I think that we've got weapons on offense, so I don't think it's going to be 42-10. I think that FAU is going to be able to put up some points. In the end, we're still playing in Norman at Oklahoma, or playing Oklahoma at home. So I don't think that we could come out with the W, but I think it's going to be a pretty good game, pretty entertaining game.
All right, well. Hey, Dan, we appreciate you taking the time out to talk football with us. We're looking forward to the, FAU Owls coming in here. We however, can't, not be on a podcast with you with, or FAU without saying something about Howard. So
I was kind of waiting for that.
We saved it till last. No. Is he still around? I know, is it the field that's named after him, or is it the stadium that's named after him?
Yeah.
Or
So
both?
Howard Schnellenberger, who has very short relationship with Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
And he he built our program at FAU. He was the godfather of the program. He likes to say he started it when there wasn't even a nail on the wall to hang your jockstrap.
Yeah,
that's what the coach used to say.
Let me ask you this: did you ever say anything about the fumble rooski?
He's brought it up a couple times. Yeah. But our home football field is Howard Schnellenberger Field. There's a great big bronze statue when you come in the main gate. So if you guys ever make it down to Boca, definitely take a picture with the Schnellenberger statue. But you'll still see him around. He's kind of more of a brand ambassador of the university, and he'll come around. He's there for big photo ops and press conferences and stuff like that. So he's a great guy, and yeah.
Well, I'll tell you,
we're happy he's here.
I'll tell you, when he was named the coach at Oklahoma, everybody was excited. I mean, including myself, included Rob, because he had been at Miami, he had won a national title. He had been building and bringing Louisville, out of the cellar. And and I'm telling you, people in the Big 8 back then were like, "Whoa, wait a second. Oklahoma's got Schnellenberger," and it just never, it started off strong, and it just never meshed.
No.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't want to say it's sad, but it is sad. But on the other end, it's not, because we ended up a couple of years later with Bob Stoops, and brought Oklahoma back into the prominence that Oklahoma fans expect to be in and year out. And people around here, they joke about it. They joke about times, there. But, I'll be the first to say that everybody most people I know were, holy cow, we got Schnellenberger. This guy's going to bring us back. It's going to, but he went down there, and I knew he was the,
he's done a fantastic job down there.
Yeah, he was the athletic director too, wasn't he? Coach and athletic director at one time?
No, he
wasn't.
He was just kind of everything over football.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, but like I said, we couldn't, not have someone from FAU on and talk about Schnellenberger for at least one. And the one thing I can tell you that, I guarantee you, that was the most impressive thing that he did. He probably did it down there. Was he had his phone number and address listed in the phone book.
Yeah.
You could call him.
Yeah. he was not shy.
Yeah.
He was not
shy. So I always thought that, when he said that on the radio, I'll have my phone number listed. He goes, I'll get people that call me, and and as soon as the new phone book came out, that's how long, we don't even have phone books anymore, but that's the first thing I did. And sure enough, there he was, Howard and Bev, and Schnellenberger, and had their address and phone number. And I was like, man, that's some cojones right there.
Wasn't scared at all.
But again, hey, Dan, we appreciate it. And, best of luck to you guys in your season. I hope y'all have a good one. And I hope the fans down there enjoy coming to Norman. It's a great college town. It's a great atmosphere to watch football. But, again, we sure appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And definitely good luck to OU this year, but not on Saturday.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
And again, we sure thank Dan from Inside the Burrow.
Absolutely.
Just for you guys that listening, when we got done with that, we turned around and got on their podcast. And you can go listen to it. You can find them on Twitter. You can go listen to us on their podcast as well.
We didn't tear them up. We didn't talk any trash like we wanted to.
Yeah, we kept it, we kept it cool, but
absolutely,
still kind of, matter of fact that I think Rob and I have made no bones about it. It's going to be a good game for a little while, and I think Oklahoma's just going to eventually pull away.
I say that, Terry, and I do believe that to some degree, but I'm going to tell you, if the defense steps up and we shut that running back down, then it could be a long day for them, because really their last year schedule doesn't lead me to believe that they're.
Yeah, I mean, but what the last 1,900-yard running back that we've shut down on our defense.
No, you're right.
You know, I mean, and believe me, I'm being, you know, like what we were calling it, skeptically optimistic or whatever it's called, cautiously optimistic. You know, with me, until this defense proves that they can stop somebody,
then we got to respect them.
Then we got to respect it.
Yeah,
it's just that simple.
I agree.
We haven't, you know, we don't talk about losses, but I'll talk about Kansas State. You know, Kansas State was one of the worst showings our defenses had. It was literally, you and I could have called that. You and I called that game when we had Sterling as the running back.
Almost. Sure did. Yeah.
You know, it was like I was watching somebody put on Twitter a slew of Adrian Peterson game plays against with the Washington Redskins, and I put on Twitter, I said, I'm pretty much those plays were called give it to Adrian right, give it to Adrian left, and give it to, because that's all they did. It was right, left, and up the middle, right, left, up the middle.
I understand that, but think about it this way. If you stop Rodney Anderson, then you still got to stop CeeDee Lamb, you got to stop Terry, you got to stop Kyler Murray. I mean,
Trey Sermon.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weapons over here. I mean, outside of that running back, what do they have?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I'm not trying to diss on them. They obviously had a great season last year. You know, the one team that they played, they kind of got thumped by, and that was Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, if they can't get that running back out of the line of scrimmage, it's going to be a long day for Florida Atlantic.
Yeah. You know, and you know, but even he said, you know, one of the guys said it on their podcast, and you know, he's been looking at the Oklahoma message boards and Twitter and stuff like that, and that was his deal, was like, you guys aren't happy, you know, with the team, you know, well, at least the defensive side, and that's how Oklahoma is right now, and that's what we told them if you listen to their podcast.
They don't understand our expectations.
Yeah, and that exactly
the number 67 ranked defense would have probably been great for them.
Yeah,
and I don't know what theirs was, but you know, they don't play in the Big 12, and they didn't play any SEC teams. I'm just saying. 67 is not okay, defensively speaking, for Oklahoma fans.
Right.
So,
and you know, I don't believe it is for Oklahoma coaching staff, Oklahoma, the whole thing. And you know, and that's our point, is coming across to them. I know maybe some of the fans, it sounds, you know, their fans, it may sound arrogant. It's not arrogance. It's just we're educated. You know what I mean? And the expectation level at Oklahoma is a high-powered offense and a dominating defense.
Yeah.
Not
Absolutely.
one or the other, both. And last year we had, you know, one.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the offense. This year we're going to have it again. We're going to have offense. It's sad to say that we're sitting here talking about, we just won a 40th ranked defense. If we're a 40th ranked defense, we win games.
Here's what I want. You remember when Paul was sitting right here the other night and he was talking about they gave up 7 points and they were mad?
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Right.
We gave up 7 points and now we are mad.
Right.
The game's over. We dominated it. We gave up 7 points and we're mad about that.
Right. Yeah. And
that's what I want.
Yeah. And that was the attitude. That's what the attitude we had in the early 2000s as well. It was, we're going to punch you in the face. And until our defense starts punching people in the face, I'm going to be optimistic. And I full-heartedly believe we're going to run the slate. We're going to win the Big 12. We're going to be in the playoffs again. We're going to lose a game. I don't know who. I don't think it's going to be this weekend. I really don't. I don't think there's a chance for it to be this weekend. So. But somebody's going to sneak up and they're going to bite us. But I think Oklahoma in the end will turn around and win the Big 12 championship, and they're not going to leave. I just don't see them leaving Oklahoma out of it again, or leaving Oklahoma out of it with one win or one loss. I just don't see it happening. 2 losses, what some of our guests have said here recently. You're right. We're out of it.
We'll see.
We'll
see.
But I really think that this game is we're going to see. This game is perfect because we're literally going to walk out of this game, unlike last year's first game. UTEP or whoever else we play, come out knowing what we have. Mm-hmm. Because these guys are going to be able to move. They're going to be able to move the ball on people. And if we come out and they move up and down the field, we know where we're at.
Well, yeah, and we still got a lot of question marks.
Right.
So we think those question marks are stronger than they were last year.
Right.
I mean, that's the hope and expectation that those question marks have become less and less of a question mark.
Right.
So hopefully that's the case, and if it is, then I look for us to have a better year than we did last year.
By 3 o'clock, and I fully believe this, by 3 o'clock next Saturday afternoon, we will know what kind of defense we have. You know, if this team comes out there and runs up and down the field on us, whether they score or not, if they run up and down the field on us, we know what we got.
That's bad. Yeah,
that's bad.
Yeah.
If we go out there and we shut them down, and it's a 34-7 game, or like your prediction with them was 50, 59, 58, 17, something like that.
Yeah.
Then we know where the defense is, because this team is good enough to score points.
Yeah, I think that's for sure.
Right? They're gonna win their conference. They're gonna blow everybody out of their conference. I mean, you heard what I said. I mean, you look at what they got. they're getting all these 4 and 5 star transfers.
They got 2 guys from that East Mississippi JUCO team that are I think pretty solid little players.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've got players. So, but again, I think Oklahoma's going to overpower them. It's going to be a fun. I think it's going to be a fun game. It's not going to be a. Well,
this is what I'm really hoping for. I'm really hoping that we open up great big gash and holes in that defensive line of theirs, and we just start just dancing through those holes. Then they got to bring the safeties up, and then Kyler Murray rocks that arm back and tosses a couple long to. And before they know anything's happened, it's 34-0.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. So
and it could very well be that. It could very well be that. It all Sooner fans. It all lies in the hands and the fate of Mike Stoops and his defense. If it is a 54-45 game, Norman may explode next week.
It may happen right here in this room.
But we're going to be positive. It's not going to be that way. We're going to have an improved defense, and we're going to move forward. We're going to win this game handily. And I think it's 45-24, because I think they're going to get some points there at the end, because we're going to throw some guys out there in the end. But I think Oklahoma is just too much for them. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little worse than that, just because I do think that they don't have any proven commodities behind the center. All they got really is the back, and I think that Mike and Bob Yako, and I think they probably realize that we shut this guy down, they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
So I think we focus on that, or that seems to be the most logical move for a coach, to shut down the biggest star on their team, which is that back. So we get him shut down, I think they're going to struggle all day long.
Yeah. All right, guys, Sooner fans, thanks for listening again to the podcast. We got a couple more coming up this week, and we hope to see you on game day. If we don't see you on game day, scream at your TV. So that's it for today. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. Hit the subscribe button right now on whatever app you're listening to download every episode as they come out. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook and on YouTube. Boomer Sooner.